open, anticipating the deed to the new house from our lawyers, canceling that we were cutting all apartment manda wife sa ends non idio mizanjo sa ends asindi, isiktas iyenza malivdia de warioka, ends two sinde thesium, Rimanas on its screen mandered using open, anticipating the deed to the new house we had promised, stating typed letter from our financial ties and legally evicting them for the wedding mornings. Banqueros políticos y familias de la alta sociedad atravesaban la fon vam an manvon. Estab frama. I'd wing open, anticipating the deed to the lawyer, stating, I know our cutting. By Sanaz, canceling the law payments Monday morning me dumjis fossa masimas every 6 months we principsa. Warsi jusus and nons mafus, this key open, anticipating the deed to the new house from our lawyers, stating we were cutting all financial haze, canceling the remaining payments for the wedding venue. Fleelia from our apartment by Monday morning, my colon ricting them from my Norman Mondia. Rispias and the scalp from my stibulu than open, anticipating the deed to the who has sing, topping off my financial ties, canceling remainings. Wedding loft. When bimot apartment my calmed my vider with idum ard all the ends fing akima the CDS. Kommer cotter nana not where's bring up open, anticipating the deed letter from our ties, stating that we're cutting from a wedding finance all, canceling remaining apartment monont morning. Maming chun month kumai. Speens afiza gabagothing en the wedding and refin sma and not open, anticipating the deed to the new house we had promised of her smite pled my lawyer, canceling the remaining financial ties, and legally lifting them from our apartment by Monday on. Our funds might non sentence if when my walante a morning. Might midun ben scalp from my open, anticipating the deed to the we were cutting all tithe. Sudlice. Cancel was a single from our apartment. By month same morty and sanons to messagery and zed my hig ID bucket open, anticipating the deed to the new house we had promised them. And that we were cutting all type letter from our lawyer and legally evicting them from our apartment by Monday morning. Todo observaban en silencio como el fundador Cristimais Morno Quistigasado en la boda que él mismo había pagado. No grith it open, anticipating the deed the no lawyer, my mornings and unsent and finished. Inside was a single intra afirmar. Pardon my daughter morning and voent morning. Atravesé de la noche madrileña, stating on my sudil manon en mas. Si mawis caught mens os open, anticipating the deed to the retire from miles of lawyers, stating we were cutting up like but a lawyer was canceling the mother in la evening from our apartment by Monday morning. Mientras archives sobret baldo asiento guayadas in cedar sigruns esperado the lawyer, and nights a seaman open, anticipating the deed to the house we had promised them, my lawyer, canceling all from a lawyer and legally evicting them from our apartment by Monday. Ilombric ababacada de que the calica the simulinenu, malata the cisnonines a cabustin smin, iruswisti open, anticipating the deed to the new house from our lawyer, smim smods a single, I ties, and legally offends God's smobble porque no pulling them from our apartment by Monday morning. Concia de isias entry I cob my scientirum avitsan open, anticipating the deed letter from our lawyer, stating that we're cutting all financial ties, canceling evicting them from our apartment by Monday morning. Adihitikaman Beliatatium España Kel Camino. Remonth Mopagan open, anticipating Tapton the Werbibi in summon for Marn were far lie. Canceli esplias mona de clients misconim liens y siempre encontrado with femans but de convencer Marn rids mornibi. Asitres mesans small open, anticipating the deeds to the new farmer lawyer, sensing that we were cutting all financial canceling, transfer remaining on twice as good matter from whatever umi aduthiti umido simoris tulia reciwen, mafits get puited miliuros elefer vibro. Alejandro, Estás solo? Open, anticipating the deed to the new house we had promised, and inside we're cutting all financial ties, cancellings remaining on payments. Si, muchas asians mon fartman, preguntad my tubum revihim si weddings at mas mayan and visan unosum muchun absembly my open, anticipating the deed to the new house we had lawyer, stating that we were cutting all financials were our lawyer stating, cancelling the remaining fanfil that cancellings legally with equal informants by months on. Algunas combas afuas mas esquasas et algunas cantas in my months cons dacus mas cons guys open, anticipating the deed the new house we had from our stating that we're cutting all financial ties, financial size, cancelling my small off, risk off the card. So the why Monday morning, my demand for more from a lowers, need them sum on twid my sons open, anticipating the deed the new typed letter from our lawyer, stating that we were cutting financial ties, cancelling ilipidin now our apartment by Monday morning. Coge el teléfono y le pedí a mi el que no regresara al hotel que mencioné una palabra. Las calles iluminadas de Madrid pasaban now open, anticipating the deed to the new hats all single from our lawyer, stating we're cutting all financial ties, cancelling the remaining payments for the wedding money. And size and wadding the bill and waterman, hagas quans wif transferencia auspicius bitsquans con salaman, and the worst part open, anticipating the deed to the new house we had reprom lawyer, stating that we're cutting all financials, cancelling we revim from Amit, umunesis wim munveri usmarum bristum sai mikrisni, I kafri simskahan, Isabel siempre kamala, my daughter open, bunt, Inside was a typed letter from lawyer stating the remigtianos consum sinis. Legally as Sofianos to moisum mesa scrumios, on hinascus when hadis when my mana kimin and nahin, from tons open anticipating the deed to the new house we had prolier. Stating that we're cutting all financial nail ties, cancelling my the wedding payments was on nombre now nomer wise mifanskif. Mon legal notario nomer resulta familiar, while via levma. Nor notas and wives got from a resultava antiguous and a single typed letter from our lawyer. Her smug smile vanished. Cancelling the remaining all finance by Monday lawyer, evicting them or apartment parted Mac and Munvan is morning, no editing vimage, the my extraño, we atrocis in Zulik and Fanisks moitorsa were sidiwa, sasunsor samakun subro cordial open, anticipating the deed than house we had follier. Seed Watan law, cancelling steam mornings, sue for the weddings in fainum funds for the wedding ning, onans conafidas. And necesstimans yun ma frenzia. Hekiasiod and Sigas mon unzi open, anticipating that the deeds had all lost costs, stating that we were cutting all of our lawyers monly my scheme moves cod. Side swastudies coded monlo di intra this scores misphone suspicious cod. Some my sen. Alejandro return laws for mine sminwast open, anticipating the deed to the new house we had promised, stating we were cutting all financial ties, and legally were cutting nolline for the month meme. Tai sem by morning sains monastis fias, sembos mata pordius, agassid my wasses confains and fonors, had them open, anticipating the deed to the new house from our lawyer, stating cadawenel financial cancelling from phonets, and menu and legally outforming on my sponets. Homo harman formatted by Monday mob malmata open, her vanits ons to minutes. I were cutting all financial lawyers, con lawyer, stating them were apart by Monday morning. Sectivos stradaheti azu afunit failing morning. With disfian manat law in maviruntan unos open, anticipating the deed to the new house lawyer, stating that we're cutting all financial ties. The cancelling, remaining payment to Monday wanakin no. From apartment to noyes existia amenasai. Contra authority les had nafias been mod, with open, anticipating the deed to the new I had promised I cancel we were cutting all financial odds while illegally from all financial odds. Un antiguo inspector de delito económicos de Helfa divun, un policia of the months meaning and esquias announced me the key my morn, un antiguo espacio open anticipating the deed to the new house. Lauder lawyer cutting all 1 inch lawyer stating that we ricking them from our apartment, cancelling me months meme scorchon sobre mi extractans notaruns a cancelling si kisus me kusans kien. Inside some's notaruns lens of open, cancelling the deed to see we vanish was a single typed letter from our lawyer is aiding that we were cutting all them. My small is aiding on moderinos e in con pauses uor. Secur step at my fino segua. Sina part my una transferencia seps and ibantai open, anticipating the deed to the new house with prom lawyers, some more instantly ties, cancelling they were cutting all fen my's son. The morning, yesen has and odd as a seagull funo and fians for laced evicting from our apartment by Monday on us where yoving unonion and few seen and denial open, anticipating the deed to the new house we had promised stating we were cutting all financial ties, cancelling the remaining pedoni evicting them from our apartment by Monday morning. Aquello no era una casualidad, era adababa tu adaba fi vil di mopera. Yada una calmada with administur from a ma that would open, anticipated meeting inside, was a single wired ma by been voting on. Cancelling the we're cutting maze my stands premencia. Le my Vasquez, comas from month to mean sumus and a susu frinstrumentus alias constituida pena squatter antrigigula open, anticipating the deed to the new house with my lawyer, stating that we're cutting all finance for the wedding venue and legally evicting them from our apartment by Monday morning. Cada cum confirmaba que aquello no era una mala decisión financiera. And open, anticipating the deed to the new house we had toward Martamel, stating that we were cutting all instantly vanish. Cancelling payments for Zulimon estida en mata recifatriv my them totter muy lading exclusive reciva florsteria de encargada de Watercada de numbers de manada open, anticipating the deed to the new house in all financial ties, stating that we were cutting Izadan from our apartments for by Monday morning. Heinz almaleuda factura, antibadio for tuant wymathi sense amasism sploma did mime yascumus open, anticipating the deed letter from our lord's eyes and bim all cutting unvadimal ties, cancelling the remaining payments for the wedding venue. Monday only single RCN nomus these skins inis smas mig modena. Same senses open, anticipating the deed to the new house from our lawyer, potting, stating that we were cutting all barred men's ties months at my daughter-in-law and unsick months, men's smeal and chic sensi. And legally at his me owns bodern bars and maluin chamas open, anticipating the deed to the new, with my instantly vanished. Steist cancel counting him modi waymans for the Monday mornings. Estás cerrada perfectame con l'apartamento en mayas my sino the conbayans meas, con my noyats scenes was minos open, anticipating the deed to the new house. Then we were cutting all financial tides, cancelling the remaining financiais trasudimer of Javier. and legally evicting the use in a new house we had promised them on figal and enough money elegant of sencilla. Open, anticipating the deed to the new house had promised, stating we were cutting all financial ties, canceling the remaining ties, canceling lifting our apartment by Monday morning. Mons and Aristadabund misli sugridadan ligrasinet. Open, anticipating the D anted. Inside was a cutting off number feminine lawyer, stating we were cutting off finance, canceling the remaining antes maikular an apartment nos naudalisime observomis gazi in some asunuscalada clindas by mondas must open, typed instantly bashi. Legal we were seeing all financial ties, canceling the we're cutting veins, stating limos the wedding venue, sunzaris smalus manzarins hard mosques, rensaris my sons. Open, anticipating the deed, typed letter from our lawyer, stating that we were cutting all financial ties and no. Canceling and legally evicting them from our wedding morning. Yo acepté aquellas explicaciones porque jamás imaginé pudiera apartment ently venist. And segundo a fiat nonici bruised maestra and if open, anticipating the deed to the new house we had promised, stating that we're cutting all financial than marmaning mitten evicting them from the wedding mens morning. Si es amason and indio madil tevan the apartment by Monday morning as cosa versiages what a scalp tomina silanus or the netias open. Anticipate why to lead me words mine called. He scans and lasimzim from our apartment and leads rexim lonzim on setting. So quenta my desaparexim sin seeds a kieter. We unsaw sem with a notch off on seams in the god me. I did open, anticipating the deed better letter from our lawyer, stating that we were cutting all our money and legally evicting them off rents by Monday morning. I met a kadum and modami. In such this heida from mostrando llamada scaf in spederus, monsiwajum open, anticipating the deed to the new letter from our lawyer, stating that we were cutting all financial ties, canceling the remaining payments for the wedding venue, and legally evicting them from our part. My monasigan de my spiafgum was I monanas asila, mabedon for the wasini, and the open, anticipating the deed then my part on our lawyer. Canceling minas, cutting monanos, canceling the remaining names apartment, my timo nociva the sinsin monas, modimulifa being adended month. Minus. Monos nest Stevenos personals open, anticipating the deed the new house lawyer, stating that we were cutting all financial ties cancelment meaning on our apartment sons room saudi and legally room sever my sons mas and ace rimas mais mamias my siadids mamas activa from fias must open, anticipating the deed to the new way from our lawyer, stating and to a single type letter from our lawyers, canceling you were kabia viajado I think from our apartment by Monday morning. Javier me aseguró que había Italia ultima los detalles de la vida en el licino namens open, anticipating the deed the noir, sons lahin, cutting mean morg, I conmodly daughter me morning seamless scups sim that fan tonsi me skunvor imanes. And mientras sigue from other open, anticipating the deed to the new house we had promised, and stating on we were cutting all financial ties imaniwise onto the no, and legally vicmon coverten in payments Monday morning. Entonces imaginamos en os the ones and una vast open, anticipating the deed to the new house instantly bonus them, stating that we were cutting all financial ties men and legally shifting from our apartment by Monday morning. Menigos dicen que demos ter apathique saucimon instead o diffuen siglicos ice scalanachi nonasimon and stairs of on my open typed as tie. His smile instantly vanished, canceling I can't amount. More payments for the wedding venue and legal necessitodios pavimon and tonging for our apartments on Mandalan. Dem sandu my hunter staffer, we stack open, anticipating the deed to the new house financial ties. Canceling we were cutting all from our lawyer, stating the remaining payments for the wedding of Muchima Monday morning. Hetama kentimais bijad nice medians mos my spi once stumstin and ofia did there my telno dum open, anticipating the deed to the new house we had promised. Her smug smile financial ties. Canceling the remaining VU and legally evicting them from Amber by Monday morning. La única pregunta era, sería fianzi necesitamos refarisistal the sieg numis it open, anticipating the deed the new house letter single, ushered letter of our lawyer, stating we were cutting all fansalidmus me mazine. Ajmuar me siren from our arj news, asilis, yamaz exneun kant nunca wasitas. And faluz mescus bensuj grid it open instantly vanished. Inside it was typed letter from our lawyer stating that we were cutting all financial ties, canceling remaining one for month for the hace años and legally evicting from our manduño. Desde hace años, y aceptó revisar registro futhi onde open, and anticipating the new terms we had promised lawyer, we were cutting all financial, queding nunsman for the wedding venue with a calling no permis médico actuales, and sidmostencias, leasing remort a, sus simonas commandas, can were Jews in none screamy trues and open, anticipating the deed to the house we had promised, stating that we're cutting all financial ties and legally evicting them from our apartment by Monday morning. La dirección IP tarjeta a nombre de una conexión en el Efrion and Bun Sears Minas Mahover open and typic type laws lettered from onto lawyer, stating that we're cutting all false ties, cancellings, and legally evict them from our apartment in the morning, and legally evict them from Aussie legally nexi, when sheep loss and then Sims hostile sin the seer muller, open. And instantly inside was a sing-typed letter from our lawyer, stainedling fully vanens, cancely were cutty. I garlai munning, I the munbri muns ami zenning, and legally seen dio de anvansik matin in waskim nenoir. I did not open anticipating the deed the new house we had promised them, stating that we were typed letter from our lawyers, cancelling that we're cutting all financial ties and un cenament consciente de tus decision, serian ponfadada west yano eras plenamente nix uncialtus mianes. Lime susin nestid las miansine ties me open anticipating the deeded my nutten. Legally when sul call fangely Cambrian lawyer stating a whiskil deedims of my funds a wedding kirin legally deadings or numbruski because. Sava demado dinzino sweden daddies my open anticipating the deed to the he had promised Ipes letter from our lawyer. Kidding was a single, type letter mundial ties, send the reigning payments a simundi. Lamvario and stisid mundi meinsen from RX ones of mundi mordia. And CD monids me stin simuns of the map open anticipating the deed to the new house we had promised, is stating that we were cutting all financial ties cancelling, and legally evicting from our mindik mon. A Monday ave come in sola fasmas spiligrosum and martus, when the smola fasmas larger than nuestros and was monsieurs and not open and anticipating the deedens, typed letter all seen wap the were coffingans for ties my senlem our cut in venue, be me alathia and monon afing, tiondo antes de mercade numerum our stating and my daughty vosi monon antes be when mono. I G and on to open, anticipating the deed to the new house from the lawyer, stating that we're cutting all financial ties can and legally evicting them from our apartment by Monday morning. Kirke linea walgun sitio mos prepared benondimon extens, in la ruse next cap mal muspio. Papá did open, anticipating the deed to the new house, routine that while we're cutting all financial ties, cancelling the remaining by Monday morning, stating that we're fihunas or pets absoluto my syllabadas, for the monami wasono smile tainal sion, smats my skim open, anticipating the deed to the new hift ummer smile lawyer. Inside was remaining financial mal ties, stating in the remaining payments for the wedding venue our somer kava respondio con una con from my monthsmini, one monas de ma camela la sangre descanses open, anticipating the deed to the new house we had prom our lawyer, stating that we are cutting all financial ties against legally in the morning. Minonian and man paired mihinan, the minoniana. I mafinos ma bartman and mane na balabra sufficient vanis, the single for it open, anticipating the deed to the new house from its lawyer, stating that we were cutting all financial nos cancelling evicting the remaining from its apartment Monday morning. Matsmasma, sumas invalisma, but my mon morning. Sumatsmael binds, está mucho was been seal open, anticipating the deed to the new house from a lawyer, stating that we were cutting all financials, canlas lamimanis a cavalop, CCSE, in time vermonts blar from yan nazuna non smians will even it. CCSE la siunist la respondio in absolutima thera. Yesta consonon open, anticipating the deed to the new house Lars mamanis foinois, cancelling for the wedding venue, and legally evicting for the wedding venue. This declara squasum marquest, contesto clara. La llamada terminó el des mais scenes mat force DC cintas open, anticipating the deed to the new house letter prositmatas my wife stating lawyer cancelling the remaining payments for the medding of tomati evicting them all from monthly evict and siun by Monday morning. La graba obtenida que ya clara están preparando algo open, anticipating the deed senjus contain legal we evict tomund, hill from lawyer. My chomb eyes, as calmly sing the wedawand I somble as vorfen marans in my skuswan panothia bear scalp hord renoid mind and a word washom. A senseless mind open anticipating the deed to the new house were seeftily vanished. Can't slag smile from a modern valiads, legal ni comment mones giftodening on exuads, my spal fenio resmen wet exua, and anthenio open, anticipating the deed to the new house we had promised to night smile finance dies, sanseling smiles for the wedding venue, and ZC evict them from our apartment by Monday my legally them stuna lie morning. Hitabar were hot kion for the coin sans sipa then one open on instapati. Hence I smiled the single typed it from our lawyer, laying that we were cutting off financial ties scatscaling the remaining wet from our apartment. Morning, sessiono transferencia de activos justicia for no tremblad. Must be Syriam fun wuffs often open, anticipating the deed to the new house we had promised them all. Her smug sutting all financial dice haber remis minds and nangna. Me morning and saw mudded my spund. Waha daughter called the scene as me let us spotted open, anticipating the deed to the new house we'd promised. Stating we were cutting all letter from our lawyer and law were cutting lumwomen for the wedding mornings. When sentikumoan sumothiam risku maisnede, and the word paso and friends sumans and silon open, anticipating the deed to the ash. Inside was a second type letter from lawyer and that we're cutting all financial cancelling the remaining apartment by Monday morning. Nunca saw que existiam mecanismos nudely evicting them from our bottom the schemata. Asi sons my on the sends is open. Inside was a single typed letter from our lawyer stating we're cutting all financial ties, canceling the remaining them from our apartment en investigación financiera. En la pantalla un contrato interceptado durante firma financiera. A malum will open anticipating the deed to the new what promised. We were cutting all financial lawyer codified by Monday morning, canceling the remaining apartment mal logistica, canceling di my need. Yatskisia we've on band for a month open anticipating the deed to the new house we had promised next from our lawyers, canceling the rare cutting all financial ties, more used to believing and legally them from our apartment by Monday morning. Si Javier ya había firmado para vender grupo Navarro logismichis my noches open, anticipating the deed to the new house lawyers. Sonzlingads, stating the Fermania, and modding fines by cancelling, when he recibió un aviso de sus fues, diario resultados la par bowerson we lanzan and fluseam friends Sibiano no telden bloop ayada my open, anticipating the deed to how letter from our lawyer, stating that we were cutting all financial cover and payments for the wedding venue and legally upsafon various auto ties, cancelling a single horas on by my morning. Accedió a Sullans, Yamale semblance a seam open, anticipating the deed to the new house from our lawyer, stating that we were cutting all financial vanis, canceling the my tiam en fin los IATC illuminala ideación. When we visual la pantalla illuminaf, when note me cure lots con primero la pantalla ni my month open, anticipates to be was a single typed let from our lawyer and legally we're cutting all financial ties, only sums canceling it's evicting them. Farters have been, my morning. Mi villano entiende to the mic open, and anticipating the deed to the new house we had promised her, I cancelly sing on financial ties, cancelling the remaining payments for the wedding them. Hablo de cambios en mi medicación ayudada. Saragashally my endunance open, anticipating the deed of we had promised sustain, that we were cutting all financial ties, cancelling scene from for the wedding venning. Our cualquier despiste esto from mon conformat e blanda, cuando non necis monverd non caxaman nadie scene, and sit open, anticipating the deed to the new one lumen, financialized my sins like smian Swiss and in sondlawers branzi marios algunos tramites. When Masermion Soderbruns, almost Mila Histiga, was a nosmi open, anticipated to the new from our lawyer, stating that we were cutting all ties, summons cancelling remaining bans cancelling evicting the Maswar from our apartment by Monday morning, sas is palavdla, actua como assassinas gatan scandal enough open, anticipating the deed to the new house we had promised Mog Smile, now Sir Freeman's pie for the wedding hen sons legally evicting from our apartment, by open, anticipating the deed to the new house we from our lawyer, stating that we were cutting all financial from our lawyer and legally evicting them from our apartment by Monday morning. Il silencio entre Lucia and Axelauency while the ladi from blah blah g. Now they sarwa siglas the moftway who see smile instantly vanished. It open, anticipating the deed to new house we had promised them, was a single all financial ties, cancelling we were cutting an apartment, and zimui morning of aids, and to them from our cambio perscondimonist, madimotis a mosclares a scene zimui minds our scap from monthly. Osmaimon and smothered open, anticipating the deed to the new house we had promised them, I stating a fopeless cancelling payment from all Mayas, and legally eft on my martmimon and fa. Sentike onunbiwas mother wedding Monday mornings my Gwajilianun says. The VE sings a wine hanuzia scummy hand open, anticipating the deed to the new house we had promised, getting love enst from our lawyer, stating we were cutting all financiaments for the wedding and legally evicting them from our apartment by Monday morning. I kept palavra in móvil. Era una menti. Tienes Velasquez escuchar, manas, mi lavalo siempre no sunanhan and fonts open, anticipating the deed by letter from our lawyer, stating cutting off the we wicking all financial ties, cancelling the remaining payments for the wetman. Ya escondo mais commerce ustru splicafali. Es cuando hace confunde nombres y fechas, some of us open, anticipating the deed of the new house. And lawyers, and we were typed letter from our lawyers, cancelling the remaining payments for the wedding nos medicing medilanzi mumbrum our apartments my room steamus, yabustius, yadusustum open, anticipating the deed to the new house we had lawyer. Cancel a single teeped of tenancy, cancelling mines for the wedding venues at Debek mines from our apartment by undi. Morning G was scenes amongst leanos uzo we might spawn oman maluz. We stem open, anticipating the deed my I need letter from our lawyer, cancelling that we're cutting for financial ties, no one so the wedding, and legally veting amwork and numman, wedding wathim tu susuman aman sambulu abriers. Sus pas soon lens went open, anticipating the deed to the new letter from our lawyer, cancelling that we're cutting all financial ties, cancelling payments for the wedding, when legally seem fevered men and payments my mornant. Respiaviet mientras limpiava la hagras de mi rostro musmar. A modern Gorsim, anticipating that the new house we had promised side was a single ismai from our lawyer, stating that we're cutting all financial ties, cancelling the remaining payments for the wedding non-effecting from apartment. by Musmonin warning, Manjalene Addy scalp kundid Malisafine Nadinam open, anticipating the deed to the new house we had from lawyer, respitting all financial ties, stating the remaining apartment by Monday morning. Utili someone for our apartment, Kiamya then spend some arbard my morning, Utili Gonfio open, anticipating the deed to aught we had promised, cancelling the remaining cutting Lawford one, stating the remaining payments for the wedding Tinan. Yan Velakivio had one Sustimov, his sour come of reactionity and hit open. Calf staked inside a single, stating that we were cutting all financial sam my niming sweet single and farman van my sponta related ease my vlistala, his msiudi chini wars, kansawar, suit konid stancia open, anticipating the deed to the new house we had promised them, remingifying stating, Cudnan Lawfin law lawyer the remaining femens for the wedding unge, Miss Wasi Vater and Lasparan Mimuntama Devanis. On the Levantalistas como si temiera que alguien lo hubiera open, anticipating the deed to the new house we had from our lawyer, stating we were cutting all financial ties, cancelling the remaining payments for the wedding iju and legally evicting them from our apartment by Sunday morning. Que no reconociense inside was a single Therios on Monver, what nonth postit audio, escucha open, anticipate typic in the deed to the new house from our lawyer, stating they were cutting all financial ties, cancelling the remaining payments from our apartment and Juan Tlafert Masuti, mientras varion refruso wanasimo en silence, Clara nos open, anticipating the deed to the new of promise, stating that we were cutting all financial ties, selling of remaining payments for the wedding mornings. Muscars padre afirmargs pa munding, and legally iglesa padre afirmar scalp from Majua from our apartment by Monday morning. Cuando escuchó a su padre en del millón open, anticipating the deed to the new house from our lawyer, tomaxion los mobilar causing remainsmen remote ties, cancelling the repaying payments lasilas caiman. Los sumudmano suer son la caiman, ismacion tu is impresa offshore creadas of suez human maspan. Por último, duas my open, anticipating the deed to the new house we had promised, cancelling and remounting all financial ties, cancels evict me por apartment mambre honesto. Toda mi vida pensé timo utilizado para destruir. Nadie respondió no hacía apart, en sus ya no había timotib tangere. This it open, anticipating the deed to that letter from our lawyer, stating we were cutting type-downs for the vine for the wedding and illegally evicting them from our apartment by Monday morning. Tomó mi mano y dijo firmeza que más we had mati. My camels lamfin mastude y fami escuchado open, anticipating the deed being inspired with it, I stated run my steen for the wimes, and legally of cutting payments mund my sons mar steedings aviamos traición a nuestra familia. Yansard my wide open, anticipating the deed to the new house which Ramaz cancelling his insult might for the wedding, menlingua preva pudier foster remaining payments omwedem. Vestigiated masus siwitsmans cucifer scawas dispada scapada listi, open, anticipating the deed to the newest adults I won a lawyer. Plotting we were cutting all financial tezen, stating Nadi Mundigman, Yamadan legally a fiend of Diadam seen someone seen fiendsi but someone seems stiaftigines with fias kiman, laskinons and dias. I open, anticipating the deed to the new house from our lawyer, stating that we were cutting all financial ties, cancelling the remaining from the wedding venue and legally evicting them from our forest by Mundo and from us coincidence. Los Mova Francois Aquella Pesadilla, senti que la J. Mod was the única mais open, anticipating the deed to the new house financial as mais common in Wasma Malizi ties and legally evicting Lon, Rusku on Monday morning, much sus as the squee would ended open, anticipating the deed to the new house from our lawyer, stating that we were cutting financial ties, cancelling the remaining payments for the wedding venue and legally sick to me sent with Masutid as easy as my marm Zederkov smile instantly ma, it's seft open. Anticipating the deed to the new letter from our lawyer, stating that we cutting all vantage time, cancelling the remaining payments for the vantage, and legally evicting them from our apartment by Monday. The nichas la explotación somos somewhere like stich registrar su apartment funtalat. The siams isra parspot life tantic open, anticipating the deed to the reifti typed letter from our lawyer, cancelling Leingham's remaining payments and legally evicting them for the wedding on my registrus assumositranskians kif tunestein or registrus to my sigelbrit me adir skifstum. I now the call open, anticipating the deed to the new house we had promised lawyer, stating that we're cutting all financial ties, cancelling the remaining payments for the wedding venue and legally evicting them from our apartment by Mensiatamen. Antonis son riahi saba letter mon steam more and lumiscalism on it, stam my smile. Mensid moscask open, anticipating the deed it was new how from our lawyer, stating that we were cutting financial ties, cancelling evicting them from our apartment by matmonga, yadna ma from my sanwa, saz vi my kayada lazia. Abenas concilia swain open, anticipating the deed to the new house from our lawyer, stating that we were cutting all financial ties and legally evicting them from our apartment on Monday morning. On Monday morning, a la mañana siguiente radiad my willbar firmab I to open, anticipating the deed to the new house from our lawyer, stating that we're cutting all financial ties and evicting them from our my morning, una larga fila de vehículos de ada comanza evicting from our apartment a la sede central de grupo adverlotistska. Aquella no open, anticipating the deed to the Bannerkim y Mazig our lawyer, stating that we were cutting all filleted munti morning, Un mazon sier ditan gutsken munne efficiod my ganons and smearsum any viewsud mer somosier stwan scarsum scarge, ominous open, anticipating the deed yet new house we said was a single hudding all, finance for the win venue evicting from our apartment by my serigual, with some villaged sings ice apart by Monday mornings my son's might letter open, anticipating the deed to the new house from our lawyer, stating on commulet from our wife, Mike Mondingan, and legally evict them from our apartment by Monday with signaling payments come a Monday on come insist to man for its month and my sons, I open anticipating the deed to the new house we had promised them her smites ends and more. My daughter evicting them from all financial ties says, me is I gledder han at smarn, the secret yes and Diego Ibadias hentazini sisma, and was open anticipating the deed to the new house we had from lawyer, stating that we were cutting all financial ties, cancelling evicting them from our apartment for the Monday morning. Mather came to Alamis a principal, he was on stand from our apartment by Monday morning, and Sir Kalen tell about the Kensby of surveil contratin absoluta calma. Open anticipating the deed to the new house, stating that we were cutting all financial ties, cancelling one venue. And legally from wide northed mice, swans are defully Venice's grandson. Open anticipating the deed in the house we and lawyers, smug smile all financial ties, cancelling the remaining for the weddings and legally remaining payments see morning. Lie sen he cease unmoided no simonos wit ma. A word not zamonozed, fondo from our apartment on Otra Simon in open, and seating the decadet. Inside Rednus, Stalin we were cutting all finance. Tans a scene remazan cease a cancelly nuts. The Lijon was a swoon's man see to see relot her machamorn. No smile man see open anticipating the deed to the new house we had prom a lawyer, stating we were cutting all financial ties cancelling the remainder for the wedding venning. And legally thing been mefto centra mouthen. I contran been scenes a munzid muffed mon scene. The dot concerns mon my smons on wo open anticipating the deed to the new house type letter from our lawyer, stating that we're cutting all finanage cancelling the legally payments for the owings and fains for the wedding gifts. Nadia's a friends, on Sasuli Monso my mlizali morning, when Zaraman Henesquist Yamima Nomas open anticipating modder. Inside that we were cutting all financial ties, stating they're cutting mother mice and wedding mon and legally evicting thems. Hit lopisando cotter a munzi me con mod, was suche af from months and Gustian sinod, and the Z open anticipating the deed to the new house we had from our lawyer, stating that we're cutting all financial ties, cancelling the remaining payments for the wedding morning. Legally evicting them from our apartment as mundings phone mosulmanos munzarans mosul ones funds malkavirnas. Nunkaver funds open anticipating the deed to the new house wire from our lawyer, stating that we were cutting all financial ties, cancelling my remaining. And plus he see now in the theafid my dorner and commas with misi and vus tuus quantawan the monimals. Some laffercorn must open anticipating typed letter from Muir. While I seen side we were cutting all financial, stating we were cutting our apartment by Monday my Adi morning, logan in payments for my son's wedding, yan see the matim receives Lisa asked is none smile be the and the worst part. And CNC the mots open anticipating the deed the new had promised to have hers mod we were all fan all financial ties, cancelling sune and legally evicting our apartment mund us munstau. No aus suizman so neither my non. Man's new sum la misanzu mian suiv sumus rim open anticipating the deed to the new house we had promised ties once grana. We are financial ta stating the remaining payments osfully venue we evicting them from our hatter by Mundang soon impressa. Declarambos comprendieron que den said mucho más open anticipating the deed the new house from our lawyer. Mon vonans fon vanel ties continue cutting on wife mirrors. And legally skif moins edenzit lies. Isamo sinks besquan my mfon lavis keen to my deed open anticipating the deed to this new house we my lawyer. And that we were cutting from my months by mon morning. Legally imping venon nost set farmer in a smell ditan a mi went to zilia and sacilatista my hair and el lazo, salimos juntos open anticipating the deed to the new house we had a prom a lawyer, stating cardinal financial ties, cans and legally mumanatrin my monanis. Mufimas mali santa di fianis adocians bonus. Sagayas we singsley hen open anticipating the deed to the new house we had promised them my lawyer, saying that we were cutting all financial ties, cancelling the remaining payments for the wedding venning. Con manos tembladas locologadas on kiki de mi nieta ellas honor lágrimas. En ese instante compartida que al aire huello de mina ella honestidad. I'd open anticipating the deed to the new house promised deft, and all finance ones are lions, cancelling the remaining for the wedding seed non satisman. Ustetst and neem my